mean, like I would have just. I was going to leave because I was online for. I thought we won't have class today, and then some reason I just stuck around and
The time.
came back in.
Are you occupied? Hello?
Yeah. Yeah, what is the question? Sorry.
How about 9 p.m. your time?
9, that would make it even earlier for you, right?
Yeah, but since it is Ramadan, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, so
I see. 9, some days I have some, like a class that finishes at 8:45, like an exercise class.
okay.
So that, by the time I come home, it'll probably be 9. Um, so I mean, does 10 work? Like right now, if we were to start every day at 10, or you wanna? For me, frankly, any time is okay. Starting 9:30, like, or half an hour ago.
Yeah, that's the point is I don't need to keep myself. I mean, I don't need to take a nap if we can start a little early.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I can
9,
just
that
yeah.
extra class. I could probably one or 2 days I can definitely. If we want to say, Monday, definitely I won't go. We can start at 9. If
Mhm.
that will help you a little bit. Monday evening.
Maybe a little earlier, not even 9, maybe 8.
Oh, on the days I don't go to the class, you mean? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I missed you. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, well, I come home from work around 7, or,
Okay.
some work here, like homework and all that stuff. So, I mean, I can
Hmm.
definitely do.
Okay, what I'll do is, I mean, right after another class, once I finish yours, okay,
Okay.
I will speak with the other. Okay, I'll speak with the other one, and if I can start that class a little early and then push yours about the same time.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that should also work. So I don't know. I don't know how am I missing these alarms? Okay. I don't know. I'm sleeping very tight actually. Anyway. Okay, so where were we? So okay. You're able to look at my screen? I mean, is it visible?
I can see your screen.
I think we're here, right?
Yeah, we did the rules, right? Creating basic dimension build rules file.
Yeah. Hierarchy, troubleshooting. It's a data prep editor, so that's something which we can skip. I'll talk about it later. Oh. Let me get the charger. Let me get the charger. Give me 30 seconds. Yep. Are you there?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so what usually happens? Let me open the Excel. Okay, the question, can we load the data without the rules files?
Yeah, you said you can load yesterday with or without the rules file.
Yes. However, the situation is the file has to be a flat file.
Right.
Okay. If it is not a flat file is nothing but a text file where you just have how do I say? Now let's say you take an export of your database. Okay. When you're exporting all the data from your Essbase database,
Right.
you're using the export. Okay. It has to be exported, right? So let's say you choose it as a text file.
Mm-hmm.
It moves everything into the notepad. Okay, but I mean, you can't really make it out. It's just random. Everything is pushed out A, I, C, C, E, F, G, J, M, L, Q. Okay, so let's say these are the columns.
Sure.
And how many columns do I have? 11. Let's not pick 11. Let's say, yeah. 8. Okay. And let's say our A is accounts. Okay. A is a member of accounts or a child of accounts. And then B is what? B is, let's say, time. Okay.
Sure.
C is, no, we will leave C. And then D is entity, let's say. Okay. And E, I'm sorry, product. E, come on. And region is F. Okay. What do you have? Scenario, right? J. And the version. Now, what else is left out? So accounts, time, entity, product, region. Okay. So let's say this is your, these are your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dimensions, and they are holding these values against them. And your CSV is given to you. It has these many columns. Okay, and there are lots of values in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, how do you create a rules file to have these values loaded on your database? So let's say A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 9, 7. Something like that. So this is what it is. Okay. And B is what? Time. Some, what is it? Today's date.
On May.
19th. Okay. And then C is Word. Okay, so there they have something, some X, Y, C. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And D is, let's say, New York underscore IT. Chicago, how do you say Chicago? CH? then India _ 19. Yes, okay, something like this. Okay, and then you have region, which is NA, APAC. Okay, and then yeah, that's it. And then you'll have some values in here. Okay, E is product, right? Okay. Just giving some names, okay? G has some values, something, okay? All right, so let's say this is the file. We'll have lots more, but just sharing a few examples. Now, can you directly load these values on your database? That's the first question. Can you?
Yeah, if it's all defined in the field, I think you can.
If they are defined, where?
If you have the dimensions exactly.
Okay, so let's say the dimensional model, the dimension model and the CSV file model matches. It has the same number of columns with respect to the same number of dimensions. Okay, and they fit. The combinations fit. Do you need a rules file to load these these values?
I honestly I'm not sure. I'm assuming at least you need to, going off of one other piece of software I'm familiar with called FDM. I think if you have, there is a table where you specify the code column code block. A corresponds, first field corresponds to account, second field time, like that.
Yeah, beautiful. That's basically mapping. Right. You got to make the Essbase understand that the values available in the first column belong to the member in the dimension XYZ. Yeah, so that's mapping. No, that's exactly what we are talking about. But I mean, these files, they are generated from the transactional databases, right?
Yep.
When these ones are generated from the transactional databases, the the whole properties change. They can't be exactly the same as we have on the Essbase, right? The transactional database will have lots of other values which are not really available on the Essbase. For example, something which is in C column, yeah, that doesn't map into our Essbase. So what you do is you exclude these columns and you would only map the required columns with the required members. Now here you have an extra column, so you exclude it. You do that in the header definition. Okay, header definition. So you basically leave those columns and map only those columns which are available on your Essbase database. Now your transactional database doesn't really have, I mean, it will never have if it is actual, or if it is budget, or if it is forecast. I mean, the values which are generated in your transactional database is, they are specific to the sales or expenses or whatsoever, but they don't tell you if they are the actual values. I mean, there is no differentiation, right? So everything is actual there. That happened. So there's nothing like budget or forecast. So you will not have scenario in 90% of your loads. You will either have to ask them to add a column as scenario and then put what, actual or
budget or whatever, actual, I mean, scenario, year, and
yeah, year as well. Most of the times you don't have it.
Right.
I mean, in the time, you usually have just the time. What time did it happen?
Right.
And in the year, it explains you if it is in Jan, if it is in what day of Jan, whatsoever. Okay? So these are the things which you have to think about. Okay, if you don't have that column in there, then you will treat them as either actual or is either budget or forecasting. So most of the times it's actual, right? So you'll treat that as actual. So you'll make Essbase understand that these values are for actuals. That's also done in the header definition. Does it make sense? The file, whichever is shared, will not have every combination, will not have the data which suits every combination. So that's why you need to exclude a few columns, and sometimes whatever the columns are missing, you make the Essbase understand that, okay, this is actual. In the same fashion, version. Okay, version. You don't get to have that data from the transactional database saying that it's, if it is top down or bottom up, or is it whatsoever. Okay.
Right.
So that's something which you do at the rules files, and it's very important. Otherwise, the data load fails. Let me see if I can find an example to explain here. Okay. Now, these are the few formatting techniques which are used in the rules file. Okay. 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 Dimension rules file. Okay. So adding the dimensional manually to the outline. Okay. Yes. Okay. This document is everywhere. It doesn't give you the exact steps how to do it.
Hmm.
Okay, dimension build. No. Okay. Okay, so what usually happens is sometimes see this B, which is your column name, okay? It's something as B is what? Date. Something like this, okay? Okay, now the column in your CSV file has a different name from your member. Okay, so what is that you need to do here is you may have to split it. You may have to split the name. So you will use so in your properties, when you're making the rule file, when you're generating the rule file, once you select on the top you will have your dimensions, on the bottom you will have your columns. So when you select a dimension against the column, if they don't match, you basically either split the name. So when you split, you give the number. From where? From the fifth position, you'll split everything. So it will only take data and then it will map itself.
Got it. Yeah. I'm familiar with this. Like even this FDM software, like I said, right? Well, you have you may have to trim the columns or like take the first middle characters and all that.
Right. So that's basically adjusting your rules file with the source file.
Are we? Were we talking about the rules file, or we're just talking about creating the source file, right?
No. You don't do it in the source file. Let's say the data is given like this. So you don't do Control F, or you don't remove it from the source file. You don't make any change, because if
so
you make it
loading the source file, right, without the use of rules file.
No, we are using the rules file.
Okay.
We are using the rules file. There is no other way. Okay, because the structure differs, right? The structure of this file differs with the way the dimensions are designed.
Okay, so we didn't see an example of a rules file yet, right?
This is an example of rules file.
Okay, but this one, this one I thought this is an example of the actual data file, and then you're showing it to link it to the rules file. Okay.
I mean, this file is the data file, but I'm talking about the situation where we would use the rules file.
Okay.
I'm just showing you an example. So So this one has more columns than your dimensions in your SBase. Okay, so if that's the case, you need to have them mapped to make sure that you're getting the correct values against those members.
Okay, and the mapping is all stored in the rules file, you're saying?
The mapping is stored in the rules file, correct. So when you create the rules file, you map it and then you save it as a rules file. Okay?
Okay, you have an example of a rules file? Maybe somewhere you can.
Yeah, I think we have it, but I think you can't open it at this operating system level.
Oh, okay.
You'll have to go on the SBase, yeah. Let's see, okay. These are the logs. Okay. Oh, not here. Middleware. Azure underscore project APM system 1. Where are my databases? Oh. These are my CSV files, basically the calculation scripts. Projects. Yeah. Let's say demo. Basic. Demo. This one is a rules file, but you can't open it, I guess. Open it. No, you can't. Okay. So, but you can have it open under your console, EAS console. Okay.
Okay. So
How you base? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It looks like a header definition type file where you'll have the column names and all that, right?
Yeah. So let's say, okay, what you have is. Okay, yeah. Okay, so how do you create a rules file? Okay, first thing, open a sample data source. How do you open it? On the console, you'll have file open. Okay, and then you go to that particular source file wherever it is located. And then you set data source properties. This is the next step. Okay, and the third step is optional, which is not necessary, which no one does basically. And then you will set the view to dimension build fields. We will do this exactly when we are doing the practicals. Okay, so we will create a rules file and then we will load the data. Okay, now once you set the view, and then you will associate the rule file with the database outline. Basically you will tell which column is going to be assigned to which member in the dimension. It's not member, but you will pick the dimension name. So it will understand that it has to be one of the members of that dimension, the value whichever is listed in that column. And then that's it. You save it. You save it, and then when you save it as a rules file. So whenever you want to run that rules file, you will write, you will go and run the rules file. But however, if you want to do it automatically, you will write a Maxwell script. So you will go and type a Maxwell script saying that please run this rules file which belongs to so and so application and so database. Okay, and the Maxwell script will run that file with associated with the text file or the source file wherever it is located. And that's the way you automate that. Now if you want to also automate the Maxwell, you will write you will schedule it on the Windows environment according to the time you want to load. Okay, that's how it is done. Okay. The very first step to select the data source properties. Okay, what you do in that is you from the options menu you'll select the data source properties, and then on the delimiter tab you will select what kind of delimiter do you have. Is it a comma, is it a space, is it a tab? Whatever the delimiter you have on the file, most of the times it's comma because it's CSV. And then you will select the header tab. Then you will also select how many lines you want to skip, if there is something to skip. Usually you skip the lines, depends on the type of data you have been given. So here they have given you an example. Okay, so the data preparator editor window is organized into two frames as shown in the following. The top frame contains your source, which is your raw data, and the bottom frame shows the rules file, whatever it represents. Here in your source file, you will have something named as roll-up level, property, category, family, item master, alias, and all these kinds of column names. Okay. Now, so you will first map this roll-up level with that roll-up level. In here, you don't even bother about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the serial numbers on the left-hand side. You map this with that. Property is there is a tilde symbol. Okay, so you don't basically map it. And then you have the category. You map the category. Then you have family. Family is here, light bulb. and then you have the item master. So you map it according to your dimensions.
Mhm.
So the two frames enable you to compare the rules files results to the original data sets. However, because many steps in the dimension build rules procedure involve opening dialog boxes on top of the rules file, hiding the source data can give you a better view of rules file information. Okay, so when you get this view, basically what he's trying to say is you will hide this source file so that you can see whatever is here. Okay, now how do you set the view? I think they have given here. Yeah, beautiful. So these are your definitions, basically the dimensions. Okay, if you want to create a new dimension, you create it here, but most of the times you don't need it. Okay, the existing ones are listed here under the dimensions. What else? You also, before you set the rules file, you'll also tell Essbase that are you using the level approach, are you using the generation approach, or are you using the parent-child approach? It's most of the times it's level. Okay, that will tell you if, because the data load, what do you think? Is it the data load, is it generation 1?
I'm thinking
Or
all level 0.
level zeros? That's why you choose level. Okay, the data load is always level 0 and actuals. Okay, so you choose the whatever the build method is. Okay, use level references. After that, you ignore the field during. So if you want to, you basically choose what dimension and what field. Okay, so you map your dimensions with the column. That's what you do here. But if you want to ignore that, you basically ignore the field during dimension build. So there are a few columns which we want to omit, right?
Yep.
So you here we have a few columns which you want to omit, which are the extra ones. In that case, you basically ignore the field during the dimension build. So it takes you to the next column basically. And then select next, it will take you to the next column. So next, next, next. You map all the dimensions with the columns, whatever are required, and then ignore the ones which you want to ignore. And then you save that rules file. And you load it. You load that rules file to load the data. You will run that rules file. Here it talks about saving the rules file. So when you save this rules file, you save it under the database, whatever the database you are working on. Okay, like I took you to the path, right? That path. And when you want to run that rules file, you open it. You open the rules file and then you run it. Or you can do it through Maxell. What else you could do with the rules file is you could also do the master or basically their how do I say metadata load, or you can manage your metadata. Let's say you want to add a few new children to to a dimension. Let's say you want to change the hierarchy. Instead of doing it one by one, you do it through the rules file. That's one of the advantages of rules file as well. That we can take care of when we are doing the practical. This is sorting of members. So this will sort all your members according to whatever the sorting trend you want. You want in ascending order, you get them all in ascending order. You want in descending order, you'll get them all in descending order. These are the settings at the dimension level. So that's why you call them as dimension build settings. No one uses that. Sorting. This is all can be dealt when we are doing the practicals. What else do we have? Okay, so do you know how to create UDAs?
I think yesterday we went through the UDAs, right?
We went through UDAs, but do you know how to create them? Yeah, we'll do that while we are doing the what do you call the case study.
Okay.
And then we'll also talk about adding attribute dimensions. How do you relate your attribute dimension with the custom dimension in your hierarchy? I think he'll talk here about Maxell, loading data without rules and with rules. If it is a flat file, which is without rules file, and then everything else is a rules file. SQL data sources. You can do that using the MDX. Okay. And then error files generated. Okay, this is okay. Excel files are again rules files. And Oracle OBIE. This is since 11.121, I guess. They have this OBIE to load the data. And then space export files. These are the export and import files. Basically, the flat files can be loaded without a rules file. Most of the times, why do you need this is, let's say your cube is taking longer than expected to load. Okay, so you perform a few steps to improve the performance. You perform what do you call restructuring. Okay, and then you export all the data in the text file, and then you clean the whole database, and then you reload that or import the text files. That will improve the performance. Basically, the cube was defragmented. I mean, fragmented. That's why you delete everything, clean it off. I mean, export and then clean it off, and then load the values again, so that it's like a new cube. Okay, that's to improve the performance. And people also use this export files of the database for the backups. I mean, they are the easiest way of making a backup. Now, before you go for any sorts of maintenance, before you shut down the database, you basically go for an export, and then just to make sure that you're safe, your data is safe. Okay. And if something goes wrong, they can import the values from the rules or from the file, the flat file. It's very faster. You don't need any sorts of rules files, all this stuff. It's simple. Export and import. It happens in a few minutes. And these all are not required, actually. Lesson 8. Oh, I think he has. Did we go through this? No. Okay, I think he has given you the steps. But there are no pictures. It's better when you have pictures. Okay. 1, 2. Order definition. I mean, it's better we do it practically. I'll show you once. It's very simple. Okay, it's very simple. Although it looks so complicated here, it's very simple. 6 steps. That's it. You have the rules file ready. It's very easy, not hard. No, you don't need all this. Don't worry. Smart here. Do you know how to have the smart view ready for your applications?
Yeah.
So you have something called as, let's say, where is Hyperion? Yeah, this one. You'll have a folder which you need to download. This is the smart view, which you need to run.
Smart view on my laptop.
You got one there? Okay. So you run that, and then once you run that, you go to Excel, and then you add that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's how you do it. I think you should be very familiar with SmartView, right?
Yes, yeah, I'm with him. Yeah, we don't have to go through that piece.
Remove, yeah, I think it's, you know everything about this.
Yeah.
zoom ins and zoom outs, then remove and keep all this stuff. What else is left out? After this, updating data values, submitting data. You know all this, right? Submission. How do you submit the data?
Through SmartView?
Yeah, it's all SmartView.
Yeah.
Reporting is also done through SmartView, right? Everything is done through.
SmartView portion we can skip. I mean,
So if we skip this, then we can start with the boot camp, I guess. This is important. I think we can start this tomorrow. It talks about the calculation scripts.
yep.
Here it's important. This is very important. And then you will have the case study after this, I guess.
Sure. So are you available tomorrow, or sometimes you're busy on Friday evening?
No, I'm
Saturday
available
morning?
tomorrow. I'm available tomorrow.
Okay.
So tomorrow we'll have the same time.
Okay.
Or I'll give you an email. I'll share an email today.
Sure.
I think we'll go with the new time, just to, make
Okay.
sure that.
So I mean, I know they open the go-to meeting at 9:30. So you're saying I can come a little later, like 9:45?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That should work. Or
Yeah.
I will, or we can still stick with your 10.
Oh, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. Okay, that's fine. That'll work even better. Sure. So we'll start like today.
I'll have the other class finish before your session.
Right. So hopefully after this session, then next week we can jump into lab, right?
Yeah, next week is lab. Hopefully, because this topic takes a little bit of time.
Okay. No worries. No worries. So yeah, so we'll conclude tomorrow night for the week, and then pick it up again Monday night, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good luck on your Ramadan fast. I know it's hard.
No, it's okay. It's just that I don't know why I'm not able to, although I've set up alarms.
Mm-hmm.
Either the volume has gone down for the alarms, it's not that heavy enough to wake me up,
Right.
or I don't know if I'm turning them off while I'm, trying to get awake. I don't know.
So you have a meal at 4, and then you go back.
Right, I go back to sleep. So that's probably something which is not working out for me. I'll have to stay awake.
So night you go to bed the usual time, and then get up at 3, or I guess to have.
The usual time is delayed a little bit because I have to go for Salah. I turn up late in the night, so not enough sleep. But we'll try and I think we are almost done. Once we start this, after the calculation script, once we start the boot camp, once you are able to, there's lots of homework in boot camp. Okay, it's you to understand, and then you come up with your idea. If there is anything to be changed, then I will suggest you to change.
Okay.
And then we will work on a few aspects like rules file, writing a calculation script, and that's where I think after that you should be good enough. Sure. One, what you will learn is you will learn how to design an application, Two, you will also learn how to analyze the data, whatever is given, analyze the aspects, whatever are shared in the boot camp, and then you apply it in the design phase. Okay, and then after design, you basically implement it. Okay, after that, you maintain it. And there are a few topics in maintenance which are like partitioning and then performance tuning.
Okay.
Once we are done with that, I think another 8 classes, maximum 8 classes you should get.
Oh, so you're saying 8 plus including the case studies?
Yeah, the case study is a part of 8 classes.
Oh, okay. So you're saying
Another 2 classes for calculation script,
okay.
another 3 classes, 2 plus 3, 5, and then we'll have 1 class for the performance tuning and
Okay.
yeah,
So by the end of May, you're predicting.
yeah, we should be good by the end of May.
Okay. Okay. No worries. Thanks for taking the time and.
No, I should thank you for waiting for me. I know it's very no one likes to wait. Yeah, so I appreciate that, sir.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, all right.
All right. I'll catch you tomorrow night.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Take care.
You too.